War could not take you further away from truth and your creator, our creator. God weeps. Can God weep? And the New York Times had a picture of like a apartment building that was leveled. It wasn't even the hospital. Like when a real reporter went and took pictures, it's like, yeah, there's some burned out cars and stuff. So, and sitting members of Congress still have tweets up accusing Israel of doing it, even though we have proof. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome aboard the Max Afterburner podcast, brought to you by the No Fallen Heroes Foundation Project, World Infrastructure, everything, man. It's good to be back. I'm going to save you from a little bit more Daniel and Cody. I'm actually leaving Thursday. And I usually do the podcast on Friday. So it was going to be another Daniel and Cody, but I'm in here a little bit early. So to bring you up to speed on some just absolutely incredible developments with the foundation, with No Fallen Heroes, LLC. Obviously, we got a for-profit and then our nonprofit. And what happened last week. So snuck in a little bit early to give you a little bit of a break from Daniel and Cody. But Daniel, my brother from another mother, is actually starting his own podcast for My Crew Doses. So good luck to him, because clearly he looked at me and said, well, if Whiz can do it, I can do it, which is absolutely the truth. So I am leaving Thursday early, heading out to Colorado, man, Rocky Mountain State, and for our first healing retreat in the United States of America. We are heading to undisclosed location. We'll get into more of that down the road, where we're going and who we're hanging out with and all that type of stuff. But could not be more humbled, honored to be doing this work. To the group that's going, just incredible group of folks, and just the energy involved in all of this it's so cool. Can't believe I get to do it. If this is work, this is the rest of my life, if you want to call this work. But let me bring you up to speed on some things. So I've been gone a lot, flew out to Colorado again, common theme here, to see our boy Jack, my John Peter. It was parents' weekend, family weekend out there in Colorado. Went to the Stanford game. Colorado's up 29-0 by the half, and I'm like, I got a bad feeling about this, and we lost. Stanford came back, tied it up, double overtime. Colorado lost. So I get it. You know, you either love or hate Coach Prime. You shouldn't hate anyone. But, you know, there's a lot of haters out there with Coach Prime. Hey, man, they were 1-11 last year. The guys, I mean, it's just an incredible turnaround. But obviously, either love or hate the guy. I love the guy. Gives all credit to God. He seems like a pretty solid role model for his kids. I get the flash and all that type of stuff, but hey, man, you know, if you don't like it, you don't like it. So that sucked. Yeah, 29-0 blown lead. Anyway, it was great to see our boy. Love my Jack, who just turned 19 this week. So happy birthday to my buddy. Got back from Colorado, man, and let me give you a debrief. I haven't had a busier, more incredible week. I can't remember the last time I had a week like this. So got back, you know, late, whenever it was, and right there waiting in the mail from the IRS. You know, when you see a letter from the IRS, especially in my case, it's usually not good. This was actually good. So after 7 months, essentially same application from Top Gun Fighter Foundation, changed some things, deleted puppy, turned it into small dog. But 7 months later, after submitting our application, the IRS has approved No Fallen Heroes Foundation. We are a 501c3 approved non-profit. So that was a God moment. And then I gave my brother from another mother a heads up. Mike Gabler, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Gabler is one of the nicest, down-to-earth, awesome human beings I've ever had the honor of meeting. I met Mike. If you don't know who Mike is, Dr. Mike, heart surgeon. I mean, you want to talk about 500-pound heads, man. But Dr. Mike, met him out at Psychedelic Science out in Denver. What just a good dude. Ladies and gentlemen, when he became the sole survivor, number 43, I love it, man. We got the lone survivor with Marcus Luttrell, my brother, and now we got Dr. Mike, who's the sole survivor. I'm going to hook those two up. I think they already know each other. Anyway, when he won, he told the host, Jeff Probst or whatever, he said, hey, I'm going to take that $1 million and I'm going to give it to veterans. Veterans recovering from psychiatric problems, PTSD, and to curb the suicide epidemic. And he's doing this in his father's name, Robert Gabler, who was a Green Beret. And as Mike will tell you, his hero. And I'll tell you what, Doc, that guy did a pretty damn good job raising you, my brother. Well done. First of all, congratulations on being the sole survivor, but thank you from the bottom of my heart. Because when I talked to Mike, he's like, dude, I love what you're doing with No Fallen Heroes, and man, I'm gonna help out. As soon as Uncle Sammy gives you the final Omni. So he was my first call, and I mean, I'll tear up. He blew me away with his generosity, with his donation to the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. Let's just say that Mike single-handedly is taking care of the next 3 or 4 retreats. With this guy's generosity, putting the ladder down, he's saving a lot of people. First responders, their family members, and obviously our veterans. So, Mike, thank you, sir, for your generous donation. It was very much needed, man. It was getting a little skosh, to be honest with you, because I know times are tough with a lot of folks, and I suck at asking people for donations or asking people for money, and that shows, unfortunately. But Mike getting that letter and then reaching out to Mike and him going here. It was a God moment, and thank you from the bottom of my heart, my brother. I really appreciate it. Okay, then the week just it kept getting better. Wednesday morning, country music star Dustin Lynch almost killed the cowboy. Nah, he did great in it. So Dustin Lynch, folks, country music star. Cowboys and Angels. So Dustin, and then 2 NHL greats, Ryan Malone, call sign Bugsy, and Kyle Quincey. It could not have been a better group of dudes and human beings at the hangar last Wednesday. Kat, Susie, our director of medicine operations, Nicole, Cody, Daniel, my boy Matthew, Doc Greenberg, call sign Thumper, who flies the other L-39. It was the coolest day, man. Dustin and I briefed, and then his buddy Sheldon jumped in Doc's trunk, and we went out and we did a tack form hop, man, and Dustin Lynch was in it. The guy is a G monster. He's a pilot, too. He flies his own Cirrus, and once I told him, I said, hey, man, you get 1,000 hours in this, in complex airplanes, you can get an L-39. I'll teach you how to be a fighter pilot, man. And boom. So we might have a Nashville squadron coming pretty soon with Dustin Lynch. But, dude, he was in it. Great flight. He flew a rendezvous. I'm a flight instructor, thousands of hours as a F-18 flight instructor, adversary instructor. And I talked him through a rendezvous, didn't touch a stick, man. This guy was locked on and flew formation, and he was in it. So great time. Came in for a monster break, and it was great. Then we threw Bugsy in the trunk. Again, he did great too. And then Quince and I went out on our own, did some low-level attacks, some maneuvering, and came in for a monster break as well. I think when we got out, he's like, yeah, I passed out. I'm like, whoa, when? He's like, 5 times. Okay, that's great. I kind of knew when he was out. But anyway, if you or somebody you love or would love to go flying in a real fighter jet, and it doesn't get any better than that, folks. That's a Reese's peanut butter cup, man. That is, not only are you getting to fulfill potentially a lifelong dream of flying in an actual fighter jet, but you're helping save lives, change lives. breaking generational trauma. I mean, come on, forget about it, folks. And now, obviously, it's a awesome tax-free donation, or however whatever the verbiage is behind that. So then the next day, Thursday morning, I flew somebody else. I'm going to keep this one a little close. And I'm going to avoid saying Hollywood people, but let's just say I met with some entertainment folks, and you know me, man. After dealing with Hollywood folks, these ain't Hollywood folks. But let's just say I met with. It's coming. I'll believe it when I say it, but it was an incredible day dealing with the hanging out with these entertainment folks, and I think we got a show. Folks. Especially if you were an angel investor 2 years ago in the documentary and everything like that. Don't want to jinx it, but this is pretty damn. We're there. Asked to come up with a budget. Asked to come up with 6 episodes. We're in the planning stages, folks. This is the farthest we've gotten before, so that was incredible. So flew, we went to lunch, then we went to the Panthers game that night. Panthers won. Great game. So that was if Wednesday was good, Thursday was just as good. So really happy about that. Again, I'll keep a little close to the chest who it was, but famous actor, very pro-military, very pro-first responder. So it was his team and another team from a streaming network that's launching. So it was, talk about another peanut butter cup, man. God is great. And then Friday, I flew my ass off this week. Matthew and I jumped in the jet and we flew up to Murfreesboro, just southeast of Nashville, because Saturday morning there was a STEM festival at the Murfreesboro airport. They had like a Army Chinook there, and an Apache, and obviously the L-39, the No Fallen Heroes Foundation fighter jet, and just talked to hundreds and hundreds of kids and great Americans about our mission and what we do, and obviously the airplane and everything like that, and that was fantastic. And then Matthew and I dropped the jet off in Gadsden, Alabama, for its annual inspection, right? You do an annual physical, or you should do an annual physical with your doc. Jets do the same thing, man. So I dropped it off in Alabama to get its annual done. 2 weeks of ripping the jet apart, taking a look at the motor. I got live ejection seats. They pull the rocket motors out, unpack the chutes, make sure they're good. Everything, it's good. So especially flying me, it's funny when I brief people, especially who have a worried look on their face. I'm like, hey man, you're flying with me. I love me. Okay, and you're with me, so ain't nothing bad happening to me, so you're good. And that usually makes people feel better, right? So, dropped the jet off for the annual, and then Matthew and I got a ride down to Birmingham Airport and hopped on Southwest through Orlando and finally home Saturday night, man. So that was an incredible week. I thank God for all of that. I believe in the good things coming and the good things that exist right now. That was just great. So check out our No Fallen Heroes Instagram, and then also Dustin Lynch. His new record release is going great, man. I just could not. So thank you, God, for everything last week. Now, as all this stuff is going on last week, and I couldn't do too much trading, every once in a while I look at the market, I'm like, oh my God, man. Which is good. Oh my God, man, in a good way, because we had a bearish double vertical on. So a bearish double vertical is 2 trades on top of each other that are bearish. So with the market imploding like this, I did my live trade brief this morning. That was about a $6,000 gain in whatever that was, 3 or 4 trading days. Don't like it when there's blood in the market and people are getting destroyed. That's Whiz talking. As Gord Gecko, I love it. There's somebody on the other side of every trade. So if the market's going to implode, I'm going to pound it into the dirt and I'm going to make money. I can teach you how to do that at Top Gun Options, folks. Everybody's a genius when the market's going straight up. Not really. The pure genii, are folks like me who print money as the market implodes and goes really volatile. Can't believe I just called myself a genius, but I'm being facetious. But because it ain't hard, folks, it's not hard to trade or invest in volatile times or when the market is going down. I actually, as an options trader, prefer the market to go down because volatility spikes. It's like being, what's his name, Jim Cantor or whatever at the Weather Channel. Love hurricanes, baby. He probably doesn't love hurricanes because people can get hurt or die or destruction, but you know what I'm saying. As a hurricane comes, insurance premiums go through the roof. As a hurricane comes in the market, options premiums go through the roof. So I can teach you how to do that at Topkin Options. But why was the market imploding last week? I can't believe it what is this? October, of 2023. First of all, I'm sitting on a podcast, which is comical in and of itself. But the world is legit at war. War in Europe, man. That's going on a year and a half. 2 years, however long. War in Europe. And then October 7th, an invasion, a ground, air, sea invasion of the state of Israel. Love them, hate them, I really don't care. War. Children slaughtered, burned, beheaded. You know where we ended up last week with some people? Well, only some of the babies were beheaded. Oh, well, it's a good thing they were only slaughtered and not beheaded. What the fuck are you? I am so glad that I had the week that I had last week because, man, what a horror. And what a horror to see in this country some of our politicians or actors or our fine institutions of Harvard or Yale or Stanford with their smart kids there, right? Praising terrorists, killing civilians. Where are we, ladies and gentlemen? The biggest intelligence failure, obviously in Israel's history and probably in the United States as well. A month ago, I was on this podcast railing about the Biden administration coddling Iran, giving them $6 billion for hostages. At the same time, they took the $6 billion they're planning to invade Israel. Did you see last week? The Wall Street Journal said, we have proof. The Biden administration to this day is twisting itself into a pretzel to say, no, they're involved in everything bad with all this type of stuff. But this time, we really don't have super evidence. Can you believe? They obviously believe that you believe what they tell you. And that type of military operation was absolutely 1,000% supported by Iran. They knew about it. They supplied it. So it's just, they can't admit that, folks. First of all, because that means that 31 Americans were killed. Now we can round over 3,000 from 9/11. I don't include the hijackers' deaths, but in 9/11, just, almost, we used to say almost 3,000 Americans were killed by radical Islamic terrorism. Now you can add the folks killed in Israel, so it's over 3,000. I don't know how many are kidnapped and still missing. 31 Americans were killed by terrorists in a terrorist attack. It's a horror. This is what happens when you're weak. When you surrender and you tuck tail and leave Afghanistan in the middle of the fucking night, Joe Biden, you won't see helicopters on the embassy, like Vietnam. That's exactly what happened. Matter of fact, one of the Chinooks was one of the Chinooks that evacuated people from Vietnam, and it did in Afghanistan. These are not serious people. There was an insurrection. An armed mob invaded a capital, and the government fell. Oh, no, it wasn't January 6th. It was in Kabul. Biden, Blinken, Secretary of Defense, Milley, all these failed generals and admirals. Afghan army's doing good. I think they're good to go on their own. The government won't. It took fucking a little over a day and a half for that government to implode, everybody to drop their guns and run. And Joe Biden, if you're an American, when I joined the military, there was an ethos. No man left behind. No body left behind. Even if you died, we'd go in and recover that for your family. We bring you home. Joe Biden, get to this gate by this time, and if you don't, we'll fucking see you on the flip side. Coward. We didn't even tell our allies we were leaving. What message did that send to the world? The United States is an enemy that can be defeated and a friend that can never be trusted. All those interpreters, all those Afghanis that were helping us, see ya. That was a message to the world. Kamala and Joe running what used to be one of the greatest countries, the greatest country, in my opinion, in the world. That's where it ended. Joe Biden's at Dover as the caskets are coming off. He's kind of looking at his watch. When are we getting out of here? The bombing at Abbey Gate, a sniper testified under oath. I had the dude in my sights. I asked my colonel, look at this guy. I don't have the authority to order that. That kid's living with that guilt. He's like, I should have smoked him. Yeah, you should have. But ain't your fault, son. Call No Fallen Heroes if you need some help. That's not your fault. After those 10 Army, 1 Marine, a corpsman were killed, General Milley 2 days later, we just executed a righteous drone strike against who we believe did that bombing. Nice job, Milley. You killed 7 children with your righteous drone strike. Look it up, folks. Watch him say that. About some hours later, as information started to come in, there's some reporters. That's kids who were looking for water. 3 adults, 7 kids. So when our enemies kill civilians, it's a war crime. When we do, it's a righteous oh, geez, no. You know what happened with that, folks? The Pentagon investigated who? Itself. Oh, that's cool. And a year later, nobody's responsible. Nobody's responsible. Nobody's responsible for killing 7 children. I want that to sink in. So when the world saw us surrender and leave Afghanistan, it was game on. You got a dude who falls downstairs, can't put a coherent sentence together, and a diversity hire as the number 2. Raging inflation, high interest rates, man. You could not have scripted this any worse. Once Iran saw that the once United States surrenders, runs, tuck tail, gone, it was game on. Game on with Putin saber rattling. You think he was scared of Joe Biden? I can't stand Donald Trump. I think he's a narcissist, sociopath. That worked to our favor. When he sent cream of some young guy in North Korea a message like, I ain't going to kill 25 million North Koreans. I'm going to kill you. Oh my God, that guy's crazy. He might just do it. Same thing with Putin. A little bit of crazy ain't too bad. Some mean tweets ain't that bad. Maybe the mean tweets kept the world at bay. Now, we don't know what bathroom to use. We don't, we're mutilating children. Can't buy cigarettes or alcohol before 18 or gamble, but you can cut your genitals off or rearrange them, and we'll pump you full of stuff. This is not a serious country. We are not led by serious leaders. A couple days ago, top of the New York Times, Israeli strikes hospital, 500 killed. Turned out to be wrong. This morning, New York Times came out with a little, a couple paragraph correction. Yeah, about that. First of all, the Palestinians had alleged that. We kind of didn't put that in the headline anywhere. Israel denied it. Folks, if Israel wanted to bomb hospitals or kill civilians, there wouldn't be one standing right now. It defies logic. Then hours later, here's some Israeli from ISR platforms. Here's rockets. There's a couple falling short. Okay. By the way, they hit the parking lot and stuff like that and killed like 10, 15, not even close to 500. But idiots in the world took that and ran with it, didn't they? Israel's targeting hospitals. Israel's killing civilians. Complete lie. I told you. I've been telling you. First thing that goes out the window in war is truth. And there is only truth. There is only God. There's only source. There's only creator divine. There is only truth. War could not take you further away from truth and your creator, our creator. God weeps. Can God weep? And the New York Times had a picture of like a apartment building that was leveled. It wasn't even the hospital. Like when a real reporter went and took pictures, it's like, yeah, there's some burned out cars and stuff. So, and sitting members of Congress still have tweets up accusing Israel of doing it, even though we have proof. Doesn't matter. How about all these awesome Arab countries surrounding Israel, 28-ish, whatever Arab countries? Hey, take these 2 million people in Gaza who most, I hope, can't stand Hamas trying to flee. Arab countries. No, you can't flee in our country. Oh, that's fucking fantastic. You guys are awesome. Then you get Nikki Haley in this country running for president. We need to take them in. The fuck we do. Under this president and vice president, 8 million people have invaded this country in 3 years. Half the states in this country have populations less than 8 million. We have had half the states' populations invade this country in the past 3 years under Joe Biden. A little birdie told me, hey, remember days before the attack in Israel? Joe Biden, out of the blue after 3 years, woke up and said, hey, we need to secure the border. I wonder why he did that. Oh, because 3 days later, whenever it was, there's videos of paragliders and people in boats invading Israel and killing people. How many tens of thousands of terrorists have entered this country out of 8 million people? I saw the FBI numbers of how many on the terror watch list they've caught. How many haven't they caught? This country is full of sleeper cells of terrorists. And if you're an anti-gun nut, you're going to be a bullet sponge someday. Did you see those Hamas hopped up on meth or whatever it was? They were all drugged up, baby, just like the Blitzkrieg and the Nazis. Drugged them up so they could go for days and not even, no morals or anything. Walking through neighborhoods, kicking open the door to people's homes and mowing people down. Some of these devils walked by the shitters at the music fair, just shot machine gun in case people were hiding in the shitters, folks. This is why we have a Second Amendment. You don't like guns? You can be the drummer boy. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. It was Israel's Red Dawn is essentially what that was. If you don't believe in the Second Amendment after that, I got nothing for you, man. You will be a bullet sponge. And that's exactly what's supposed to happen if that happens. So my heart weeps. Even just talking about this, my shoulder hurts. I every day, wake up, gotta get centered and meditate. Do my 3 p.m. meditation to try and. This is a horror. Stop. I've said this with Ukraine and the Russia shit. 5 years ago, I'd swim across the Atlantic to kill as many Russians as possible. Same thing now. I'd want to kill as many Hezbollah and Hamas fighters as humanly possible. My ego is raging right now because I'd love to do that. Kill children. Are you? But Israel's... Hey, man. Don't tug on Superman's cape and then cry when you get hit back. It's a disproportionate response. So, ladies and gentlemen, based on the population of Israel, 1,400 Israelis would equate to 60,000 Americans dead. Could you imagine after 60,000 Americans killed on 9/11, a group of fucking Hollywood actors is like, hey, we need a ceasefire. I get it, man. I want a ceasefire too. After the people that did this get turned into hair, teeth, and eyeballs. I'm telling you, man, this is why I hurt, because the medicine work healed me from all this stuff. I feel like the Godfather in Godfather III. Don't go watch it. But every time I'm out, they pull me back in. And I feel shitty for talking like this. It's not a poem. It's like a screed or Google it. It's called The Man Who Wanted to Be Left Alone. That's why a lot of veterans like me, a lot of guys like, just leave me alone. Let's live in peace. But if pushed to it, we're not responsible for what happens. Let me see if I have this. Yes, you ready? This is how I feel right now. And it hurts me because I can, after doing medicine work, I can step outside of me and see me with this raging ego and me getting pushed farther away from source. This is why I thank God that I'm at least getting away this weekend to hold space. You know me, and I said this often, the medicine calls to you. I don't feel the medicine calling me right now, so I'm going to hold space. The last time I sat with the medicine, it was my check ride. The 3 times, I'd call it primary, intermediate, advanced for all the Navy folks out there. Primary flight training, this is an airplane. This is a propeller. Houses get bigger, houses get smaller, left, right. If you did good enough, you picked your platform. I picked jets, obviously. You go to intermediate training. And then if you do good, you get to go to advanced. I flew the A4 Skyhawk, and man, ACM, air combat maneuvering. That's the way my medicine experiences were. Primary, man, I was hanging on the airplane. I was hanging on the mattress with God, 12 to 14 hours with my sister and my father, and God clearing stuff out. It really was primary, intermediate, advanced. So now I could probably use a little rust to knock off, but that's also ego talking, isn't it? When I reflect, when I'm centered, I just don't feel the medicine calling. That's where I am right now. The man who wanted to be left alone, okay? I want you to listen to this. The most terrifying force of death comes from the hands of men who wanted to be left alone. They try so very hard to mind their own business and provide for themselves and those they love. They resist every impulse to fight back, knowing the forced and permanent change of life that will come from it. They know that the moment they fight back, their lives, as they have lived them, are over. The moment the men who wanted to be left alone are forced to fight back, it is a form of suicide. They are literally killing off who they used to be, which is why, when forced to take up violence, these men who wanted to be left alone fight with an unholy vengeance against those who murdered their former lives. They fight with raw hate and a drive that cannot be fathomed by those who are merely play acting at politics and terror. True terror will arrive at these people's door, and they will cry, scream, and beg for mercy, but it will fall upon the deaf ears of the men who just wanted to be left alone. That sucks. That's awful. It's the truth. We are literally on the edge of World War III. War in Europe. As of me shooting this, Israel still has not moved into Gaza. Iran, a terrorist country that the Democrats support, Donald Trump turned General Soleimani into hair, teeth, and eyeballs with a drone strike in Iraq. The Democrats wanted to go to the guy's funeral and were furious at Trump. Number one terrorist list. It killed 608 Marines and soldiers in Iraq. Democrats went apeshit. This hurts. Just want to be left alone. But when pushed, World War III, folks. If Iran gets involved from the north with Hezbollah, or from the right, from Syria, whatever you want to call those dudes, and Hamas, Israel's fighting a three-front war. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this. We're at war. The USS, whatchamacallit, shot down like a ton of drones and I believe 3 ballistic missiles heading from Yemen to Israel from the Houthi rebels. Iran. A U.S. Navy vessel engaging ballistic missiles and drones. In Iraq, where we have U.S. forces, the bases where these U.S. forces are were attacked the other day. In Syria, we have U.S. forces. The base they were at were attacked. American military units, ships, are engaged in combat right now, folks. Do you know this? Do you see this on the news? You probably don't. If I ran, I forget where I was reading, but the N-word was mentioned. Not that. Nukes. Israel clearly has nukes. They have a, policy of, we can't confirm it. Okay, dude. Israel has nukes. And I'm pretty sure back channel, they're telling Iran, man, I can't believe I'm on a podcast talking about this. Nuclear Armageddon. If Iran, which I'm pretty damn sure they might be close, gets a nuke, what do you think they're going to do with it? How about we believe people when they say something? When these radical Islamic dudes say something like, oh, we're totally going to wipe Israel off the mat. You know what Democrats do? Oh, stop just joshing. What? Why don't we believe people? Adolf Hitler lied to, Neville Chamberlain, famous, he gets off his airplane. I have a signed document from Adolf Hitler. There will be peace in our time. Hitler goes back to his buddies like, dude, you wouldn't believe it. I told this guy, I signed that shit, and I said, yeah, we're good. Ain't no war coming. How stupid. So at least that guy lied. These guys, oh, no, when we get a nuke, we're totally going to wipe Israel off the map, and as many Americans at the same time. Why don't we believe them? These idiots that, come on. John Kerry, Joe Biden, Barack Hussein Obama. Billions of dollars, not in dollars, I'm sorry, they were in euros because dollars would have been illegal to give the Iranian mullahs. Pallets of cash on unmarked airplanes under Barack Hussein Obama in the middle of the night to get hostages released. Obama did it, Biden did it, and what did it get us? World War III. The fuck are we doing? Again, the men who wanted to be left alone, this sucks. I read that before I did the medicine. Now it's making me furious. Again, Godfather III, every time I'm out, they pull me back in. I do not want to be pulled back in. The world needs to heal. I love a Palestinian child the same as I love an Israeli child. They are me. I am them. They are you. We are all one. I don't know if I'm going to make it. This chart that I show you of the United States and the world in a nosedive, man. And the rise of these healing modalities, these healing medicines. Is it going to catch us? I'm trying my best. I'm not joking when I say if you took Netanyahu and the Iranian dude, whatever his name is, and gave him some Ibogaine together for a weekend, or Zelensky and Putin, I'm not joking when I say this. I'm not going to share a lot other people's stuff on the medicine journeys, but I had, there was somebody who did the medicine whose daughter was sexually molested by an ex. before if this person found this out before doing the medicine. I believe either he or he was going to have somebody. I can't believe I'm talking like this, but this person did the medicine, and it was this person's ex and her new man. On the medicine, this man took an axe to these people. He's like, Whiz, I could feel every impact. It's like, I absolutely killed these people. And then I saw their souls. I saw them as perfect as souls. And I was healed. That next day I looked at him, I'm like, oh my God. He's like, I feel I have nothing but love for them. And I'm sorry. I'm like, oh my God. 42 hours before this guy was probably going to go, I don't want to say it. Let's fast forward to the result. Whiz, I mean, I obviously, how far from God, from source, from creation do you have to be to do something like that? I feel sorry for them. So I'm not joking when I say a Zelensky, a Putin, a Mullah, a Netanyahu retreat might not result in, or would result in world peace. I'm not joking, folks. I've seen it. I've seen it in other people, the person I just told you about, and I've seen it in myself. I don't see a Palestinian. I don't see an Israeli. I see a soul. They are me. There, but for the grace of God, go I living in the Gaza Strip. There, but for the grace of God, am I in a kibbutz. When you realize that we're all one, your heart breaks for this stuff. But again, I question, is this what God wants? We have free will. Does everybody understand that? Because the free will thing was tough for me. I'm like, doesn't God know everything? God knew this was going to happen. God, all powerful, all knowing, all everything. Because it's interesting, because God could have made puppets. Where's the fun in that? Like, all right, I'm making all these things to just worship me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He could have done that. That makes no sense. Why would that, right? Are you tracking? I've sat with this, right? That's why when God gave me the tour of everything when on my first ibogaine experience and brought me back and we were staring at this blue spaceship, I got the feeling. I didn't get the feeling. I got the knowledge that this was it. Now you can go listen to episode, whatever it is, 50-something. Before the medicine, I was like, green men everywhere. It would be stupid to say there's, not. I'm telling you, I did an absolute 180. I hope God can't weep, but God kind of looked at me, and we were both kind of staring at this thing, and he's like, "What? Why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Everything I gave you, everything you need to be happy." Hell, man, start with the Adam and Eve, if you believe that stuff. But it was just kind of this. I'm old enough to remember growing up, there was a commercial with an Indian. He was like standing on a mountain looking at all the pollution in the cities and people throwing stuff out of the cars and all the trash. And he kind of looked at the camera and he had a tear going down his cheek. Remember that? Google that. That was a famous commercial. That's what it felt like to me when I was experiencing God and looking at this planet. God weeps and shrugs and says, why? So how about we take a little bit of time and ask ourselves why? And it's always the other people. I've used this a couple times in the past week when talking about what's going on in the Middle East. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. I want you to reflect with that for a second. I see it on this X Twitter. I mean, frothing at the mouth back and forth. Israelis are killing children. Israelis are terrorists. Okay. To Israelis, they're freedom. They're fighting to defend their homes. Israelis to Palestinians. They're terrorists. Some Palestinians to Hamas. There are freedom fighters. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Let that sink in until we all recognize that, until we can see each other as a soul and we can recognize that, hey, man, I am that person, that my freedom fighter is a terrorist, or vice versa. We're fucked. We are absolutely in a lot of trouble. So I'm trying to stay centered. I'm trying to not be the man who wants to be left alone, because the world needs to heal. But this was a quote from Golda Meir, right? She was the prime minister, 6-day war, right? I think, like her, Netanyahu's gone. Once the dust settles, if it settles, he's gone, just like she was. I mean, they fought the initial holy crap surprise attack, and then it was like, how'd you fail like that? Here's a quote. We can forgive the Arabs for killing our children. We cannot forgive them for forcing us to kill their children. We will only have peace with the Arabs when they love their children more than they hate us. When they love their children more than they hate us. Folks, I was going to say it's a beautiful quote. It's an awful quote, but it's the truth. But there's beauty in that because it's the truth, right? Combat war gets us further and further away from truth. That's the truth. And I'm afraid that this isn't going to happen in our lifetime, that there is peace. Why? Because these people are raising their children to hate. That's our land, hate them from an early age. God bless these children. They do not know any better. They don't know any better. When you're raised from birth to believe stuff, guess what? It takes a life-changing event, medicine, to reprogram you. So clearly, these people do not love their children. If your religion believes in a God that sanctions the killing of another human being because they don't believe in that God, man, what the fuck? That's what you believe in? It's almost hard for me to say, quote, I respect that. How can you respect somebody's religion that believes they have the right to kill others for not believing in their religion? What? Y'all know me. I'm a recovering Catholic. Not religious anymore whatsoever. I could not be more spiritual. I am the most spiritual I have ever been in my entire life. And that's what makes me even more in a bad place right now with all of this. Religion? Me, I'd be on my knees right now. God, in your with your white beard and white vestments sitting on that throne, smite these people with lightning bolts out of your fingertips. That guy died on a mattress on a floor of a home in Mexico. When you recognize that God loves your enemy so much, the same way it loves you, isn't that incredible? That you do to the least of my brothers, you do unto me. God loves your enemy that you hate the most on this earth, that you want to kill, loves that enemy as much as it loves you. But there are a lot of religions on this planet, man, who don't believe in that type of God. Good luck, man. That ain't the God that I experienced. God does not make imperfect things. And to think that somebody doesn't believe in your religion is imperfect and needs to die, what the fuck? The men who wanted to be left alone. If this world needs to be cleansed of those people, it's about to happen. I don't want it to happen. Stop. The death, the destruction, everything. Stop. But if one side ain't going to stop, there is no choice. Sadly, there is no choice. What little I can do on my level, I'm going to try and help as many people heal as possible. That's all I can do. It's all I can do. Don't want to kill, don't want to hurt, I want it to stop. So the only thing I can do in my own little world is to try and heal as many people as possible. And when all of this is over, I've talked to my buddy Doug about going to Ukraine or doing retreats. Hell, throw me in jail for saying this. In Russia, too. These poor kids in Russia, these poor kids in Ukraine, the poor parents, everybody needs healing. I'm a Ukrainian, I'm a Russian. If you just went, you're the problem. Start seeing people as souls and not as your enemy, and this world will be a much better place. And I'm going to do my best that I can at my little level to make that happen. Folks, I'm going to get going, man, mainly because I need to go. I need some sage, and I need to go get centered because I can't stand feeling like this. I can't stand talking like this. I need to reflect. I need to get clean to be able to hold space in Colorado for these incredible human beings who have stepped up to say, I need to heal. I want to heal. I want to be a better husband, father, human, brother, sister, son, daughter, whatever. Thank you for your support. Thank you for pitching into the fight. Thank you. Spread the word, man. How can I help with? I don't have enough money to donate. Hell, $5, man. I said this before. Can you throw a venti upside down caramel macchiato iced at the No Fallen Heroes Foundation each month? Every dollar is going over the fence to help these people, man. And it counts. Pitch into the fight by sharing these podcasts, sharing the good news of the work we're doing. And in, a little under a month, about 3-4 weeks, hopefully we're going to have a really big announcement with No Fallen Heroes and my crew doses with my brother Daniel to get some healing supplements out to folks. I love these things. Wow, you're going to be blown away. You're going to be blown away with what's coming. Let's focus on the good. I apologize for focusing on some of the bad today. Ending on a high note, thanks again to Mike Gabler, Soul Survivor, season 43, in honor of his dad, Robert, who was his hero, Green Beret. And Robert, making the world a better place through your son, and Doc Mike making the world a better place with the donation to the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. Man, I was stressed about having to pay for stuff, and God takes care of fools, drunks, and sailors. Bases loaded for the Whiz fighter. I will be back. Next podcast you're going to hear me from, I'll be back from Colorado, and I'll have a nice debrief of the healing and everything that we experienced out in the Rocky Mountains. Have a great rest of your day. Hug your loved ones, man. Hug somebody you don't even love. How about that? Reach out to somebody you just don't even love. Kill them with kindness. The world could use a little healing. The world could use a little love right now, okay? Make sure you're hedged. If you're not hedged, you're getting crushed in this market, and that's your fault. Don't have any sympathy for anybody who's getting destroyed in the market. You have the ability to make money as things go bad. I guarantee it. I am doing it. Did a webinar the other week. I showed my personal brokerage account from E-Trade. In the past 2 months, as the world has been ending, mine's gone straight up. Everybody's a genius when the market's going straight up, but when it's getting destroyed, it's tough to trade. Now, life's tough. It's even tougher if you're stupid. So come to Top Gun Options, and I'm going to teach you how to trade, okay? So have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. Fights on. Namaste. And Basi, Whiz out.